Welcome to Thoughts and Theories. Immanuel Kant is one of those philosophers whose ideas sound simple at first, but the more you think about them, the deeper they go. He's the kind of thinker who asks you to stop and look not just at what you do, but at why you do it. For Kant, morality isn't about consequences or feelings. It's about intention. In his view, a good person isn't defined by what happens as a result of their actions, but by the reason behind them. In other words, for Kant, morality lives in the heart of intention, not in the success of outcomes. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you see an old lady struggling to cross the road. You help her because you genuinely feel it's your duty to be kind. Now imagine another person helps her too, but he does it because he wants people around to see and praise him. According to Kant, both people performed the same action, helping the old lady, but only the first one acted morally. Why? Because his intention came from a sense of moral duty, not self-interest. This is the heart of Kant's philosophy. He believed that moral worth doesn't come from what we achieve, but from the principles guiding our decisions. If you act out of selfishness, fear, or even compassion alone, your action might still be good in result, but it isn't morally good in essence. That sounds strange to many people because we naturally judge morality by results. We often say someone is good because they helped, or bad because they hurt others. But Kant flips that around. He says what makes someone truly good is not what happens after they act. It is what drives them to act in the first place. To understand this better, imagine a doctor. Two patients come to her, both in need of help. She treats them both equally, but her reason matters. If she does it because she truly believes it, as her duty as a doctor, to help anyone in need, then her action has moral worth. But if she helps only because it boosts her reputation or income, then even though her action looks good, morally speaking, it's hollow. For Kant, morality is not a performance. It's an inner commitment to do what's right simply because it's right. Now you might wonder, how do we know what's right? Kant had a very precise answer. He believed in something called the Categorical Imperative. Don't worry about the name, it just means a moral rule that applies to everyone, everywhere, no matter what. It's a command that doesn't depend on your desires or situations. For example, if lying helps you today but harms someone tomorrow, then it cannot be a moral rule. A moral rule, for Kant, must be universal. It must be something that you could will for everyone to follow. He puts it like this: act only according to a rule that you would want everyone else to follow as well. Think about that. Before you lie, steal, or manipulate, ask yourself, would it be okay if everyone did the same thing? If the answer is no, then it's not moral. This isn't about religion or punishment or reward. It's about logic and consistency. If you want to live in a world where promises mean something, you can't make exceptions for yourself. Here's an example. Let's say you borrow money from a friend and promise to pay it back, but secretly you know you won't. If everyone did that, promises would lose all meaning. So, by your own logic, you destroy the very concept of promising. That's why Kant says lying or breaking promises can never be morally right, even if it leads to something good. It violates the consistency that morality requires. You might say, but sometimes lying saves lives. For instance, hiding a person from someone who wants to harm them. Doesn't that make lying right? Kant would still say no. He argued that truth must always be respected, because once you allow exceptions, morality becomes unstable. Many philosophers disagree with him on this point, but his reasoning is clear. Once morality depends on situations, it stops being universal. And for him, morality must be universal, or it's meaningless. Kant wasn't just talking about rules, though. He was talking about respect. He believed that every person should be treated as an end in themselves, not as a means to an end. That means we shouldn't use people merely as tools to get what we want, no matter how noble our goal seems. Think of how often people do this in everyday life. Flattering a boss to get a raise, pretending to care about someone to gain attention, or helping others to feel morally superior. Kant would say that in those moments, we are violating human dignity. True morality, for him, is about respecting others as independent, rational beings with their own goals and worth. This idea shaped much of modern ethics, including human rights. The belief that every human being deserves respect and cannot be used as an object traces back to Kant's principle. Even though he lived in the 18th century, his ideas still shape how we think about justice and equality today. But let's return to his main point: why intentions matter more than actions. Imagine a soldier who disobeys an immoral order, knowing he might be punished for it. He doesn't do it for fame or reward. He does it because he believes it's his duty not to harm innocent people. Even if he fails to change anything, his act carries moral worth because it comes from duty, not outcome. Meanwhile, someone else might obey the same order and succeed in achieving some practical benefit. But if they acted out of fear or personal gain, their success has no moral value in Kant's eyes. In simple terms, Kant believed that morality isn't about winning or losing. It's about choosing rightly, even when the world doesn't reward you for it. It's about holding your principles above convenience. That, and why he said the only thing that can be called good without qualification, is a good will, a will that acts purely out of respect for moral law. You might notice how different this is from other moral theories. For example, utilitarianism says what matters is the outcome, the greatest happiness for the greatest number. Kant disagreed. He thought happiness is too uncertain to be the foundation of morality. A lie might make people happy today and destroy trust tomorrow. A kind act done for praise might make the world better in appearance, but not in spirit. So for Kant, happiness is not the test of goodness. Duty is. Now you might think, isn't this too rigid? Life is complicated. Sometimes intentions and outcomes don't align. You might mean well and still cause harm, or act out of duty and still fail. Kant knew that, but he'd say that morality is niet about predicting results. It is about doing your part with a clean conscience. What happens next is beyond your control. In a world where so much depends on luck, Kant's ethics give you something solid to hold on to: your own intention. Think about how liberating that is. If morality depends only on outcomes, then we're constantly at the mercy of chance. If you save someone and they later commit a crime, does that make your act immoral? If you tell the truth and it causes pain, does that make you a bad person? For Kant, no. Your duty was to act rightly. What follows doesn't change that. It's a tough philosophy, but also empowering. It tells you that moral worth is in your hands, not in the unpredictable world around you. You don't need to control the future or please everyone. You just need to act from a place of duty and respect. So when you face a moral choice, Kant would ask you to pause and ask yourself 3 things. First, am I acting from duty or from desire? Second, would I want everyone else to act this way? And third, am I respecting others as ends in themselves? If your answer to all 3 is yes, then your action is moral, no matter the outcome. Kant's message in the simplest terms is this: morality is not about being lucky, clever, or successful. It's about being honest with yourself and acting from principle. You could lose everything and still remain morally whole if your intentions were right. In a world that often rewards appearance over sincerity and results over integrity, Kant's philosophy feels almost revolutionary. It reminds us that doing the right thing doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it costs us, but it's in those moments that our intentions show who we truly are. So the next time you act, whether it's helping someone, making a promise, or standing up for what's right, remember what Kant taught. It's not the applause or the outcome that makes it moral. It's the reason you chose to do it in the first place. Because in the end, the truest measure of goodness isn't in the result, but in the will behind it.